Gunplay in Rust got some big changes this month. In my last update video, we talked about how the high external stone walls are now going to take 3 seconds to be placed down. This has been reduced to 1.5 seconds now, and the small wooden barricade has been doubled in size. The landscape of Rust is no longer going to be filled with tall, ugly looking walls. Small wooden barricades are also pretty easy to obtain, so you're going to be able to get them a lot earlier than you would normally be able to get your walls. And you're no longer going to have to spend ridiculous amounts of resources to craft them. There's also been tons of small changes to weapons and weapon attachments, and everybody was complaining about the SKS becoming a SAR skin with the Nomad DLC pack, but it looks like the devs have reverted that and we might see the SKS becoming its own gun in the future. Currently it is live on the staging branch if you want to take a look at it for yourself, but do keep in mind at the moment it still acts like a SAR. Weapon attachments have had some pretty big changes. The time that it takes to shoot your gun again while using a burst module has been reduced from 3x to 2x the normal fire rate. The hollow sight has drastically thinner edges, meaning that it's going to take up less of your screen than it used to. The muzzle brake and the muzzle boost have been buffed, now having less damage reduction and less damage fall off. There was also a fix to guns shooting slower when a muzzle boost and burst module were equipped. The custom SMG now has 30 bullets and a higher chance to hit in the center of its aim cone. And you'll notice that the bullet spread on the semi-automatic pistol has also been tightened up. The LR300 will do more damage at longer distances, has a higher bullet velocity so that it can travel further distances, and then also has had its horizontal recoil decreased, making it top in the line of the AR class. There's also been a ton of work in the back end on gun animations, gun sounds, server performance, and AI related things that are above my pay grade. The biggest thing to note here is that if previously you noticed drops in your frame rate or if you stuttered during fights where a lot of bullets were being fired off by many players, this should now be resolved and handled during your asset warm-up with no performance impact. Also, you should notice when joining a server for the first time that you load in faster than you did before. Maps are now downloaded as they would be after joining for the first time instead of generated. And to finish off the changes to the weapons this month, if you have moved before taking your first shot, there will no longer be a penalty applied to it, meaning that your first shot is more accurate than it used to be and is now instead blended in over the following 4 shots. This basically just means that if you've started moving and then shoot your weapon, your first couple of shots are going to be way more accurate than they used to be before blending back into the regular aim cone. And there are still more things to go over on gunplay outside of the weapons. In the last video, we went over the taxes on the tech tree and the workbenches, and it turns out that this was put in place as a way to nerf the outpost. Safe zone recyclers will now take 8 seconds per cycle and will give you 20% less resources than they did before. While on the other hand, recyclers located in monuments will only take 5 seconds per cycle and will yield 20% more. If anyone's got half a brain, this means that they're not going to be recycling at outposts as much as they used to unless absolutely necessary. We may still see changes on this in the future, so don't think that it's set in stone at the moment, but do let me know politely in the comments what your thoughts are on this change. Do you think people are going to start roaming more than they used to instead of camping outpost at the beginning of a wipe, or that monuments are just going to get walled off more than usual? Another pretty big deal is that the loot inside of the red card puzzle in the launch site is now on its own timer outside of the rest of the monument, meaning that there's now guaranteed loot inside unlike before with the 50% boost to the amount of loot, and it will only respawn when there's no players located in the area. And as I predicted in last month's video on the changes to Bradley, he now has multiple phases and there are heavy scientists that will pop out of them. This should make Bradley a lot more challenging than he was before, and also the scientists are more aggressive than they used to be last month. At 80% health, 2 scientists will spawn. At 60% health, 4 more scientists will spawn. And at 40 health, 6 final scientists will spawn, all varying between regular scientists and heavy scientists. This should make the fights at launch site when people are taking Bradley a little more interesting, and also give solo players the opportunity to steal more loot than they had before off of the scientists on the ground. The patrol helicopter has also had a ridiculous amount of commits this month, and it should stop running away from you unnecessarily, but do keep in mind that if you do a lot of damage to it very quickly, it will run away. But from what I've seen with testing it myself, it does end up coming back to you now. The issue before was that after players dealt a ton of damage to the attack helicopter and broke line of sight with it, it would then run away very far across the map. From what I can tell, when the attack helicopter runs away, it will go quite far, and this is a good chance for other players to steal it from you. And once the patrol helicopter has taken enough damage, it will attempt to crash at a nearby monument. Although keep in mind, it will ignore tier 0 monuments like ice lakes, swamps, caves, and it will also ignore underwater labs. And it should also stop exploding high up in the air before it was even close to the ground. So now instead of being able to roof camp the patrol helicopter once you've taken it down, you're going to have to instead go and push a monument where it's crashed at. This is going to create some interesting PvP opportunities for everybody around the area, and overall this is one of the best updates that Rust has seen in a long time. And I think that we're going to continue to see more updates like this in the near future. But that's all I got for you guys today. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, leave a dislike if you didn't, and I'll catch you in the next one. Oh, and there's also going to be like tigers or some shit.